going, ladies? Okay, so the title of my brief talk this afternoon now is Black, White, and Shades of Gray, navigating the complexities of the DEI landscape. As she said, I am Latish Reed. I am a Milwaukee native, and I'm excited to be here with you this afternoon. These are some of the things that we will do this afternoon. I hadn't accounted for the 10-minute announcements and opening, and so we will have to move quickly. I hope to leave you with something that will make you think beyond this time we have together. So we will do some norms. We'll talk a little bit about who's in the room. So get ready to drop who you are in the chat so I know. And then we will also we'll have a video. We'll talk about my equity empowerment continuum. And then we're going to play a little bit of what would you do? And then finally, we will end with so what now what? So these are my norms that I use on a regular basis. I like to always start the conversation with some norms. The one time that I did a presentation virtually at UNC Chapel Hill for a former colleague, and I was like, oh, we don't have time to do norms. The conversation spit completely out of control. So I always like to start with some norms, and I do encourage you too, if you are going to be courageous enough to have important conversations. So the first one is encourage folks to participate. I'm going to put you in the breakout rooms. Please make space for everybody in that breakout room to have conversation. Seek clarification. I believe this group seems like one where you all probably have had some conversations. So feel free to ask me questions or ask questions of your colleagues. Speak your truth without judgment or blame. As I mentioned, I used to be a professor, and what I can tell you is that everybody has a prerequisite that they've taken before they get to any of these uncomfortable conversations. So please feel free to use I statements. Talk about from your experience and what you have, right? So I want you to think about that. Be open to discomfort about new perspectives. And how I like to shorten that up is I just like to say, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. We cannot do anything new unless we challenge ourselves. So get comfortable being uncomfortable. And finally, expect and accept non-closure. When you leave this meeting, you're going to be like, oh my God, I don't know. I should have maybe thought of something else. I should have said this. I should have said that. It's all good. Expect and accept non-closure. So if you could briefly tell me, drop in the chat so that I know who's in the room. As I mentioned, I know some of the folks that are here. Could you just let me know who's here real briefly? Linda says, I. Linda, what do you do? Right in the chat, what are you? Brittany Buckner is an author. That's what she is. She's a full-time novelist, and she has written some amazing things. Now, she put her former position in there, but her current position is full-time author. What else we got? We got a retired professor. Hello, I got a former school counselor. Okay, writer. Retired health administrator. What else we have? Let's see, just to get an idea of who's all in the room. Youth advocate, man, you have done the work. Sister Charlene, a pastor we have here on the line. Chair membership. Yep, Miss Patty does everything. Higher ed consultant, educator, IT professional, awesome. So I want to give you just a real quick snippet about me. This will be quick, but just so you know how I got to this particular space. I've spent some time in K-12. I've spent some time in higher ed. So I've been a teacher, a school administrator. I served as the Milwaukee Public Schools first equity administrator, and I'm responsible for creating the equity policy revising our non-discrimination policy to include, be gender inclusive. I've done loads of professional learning around equity and how to support that. And I currently serve as the professional development manager until 10/31, when I will venture off into some new endeavors. Again, I've been a professor in leadership. I got my PhD from the University of Wisconsin at Madison, and I've done a lot of consulting and supporting and presentations and all of that. So just to give you a little sense of who I am. Now, what I want to do is I want to play the short video clip, and I'm going to give you some reflection questions. I don't want you to put it in the chat or anything like that. So I'm going to play this. Hopefully you can hear this. Let me know if you can't, but I will play this short video. This is Dr. Alexis McGill Johnson. She's done amazing work, but I want you to think about your physical and emotional responses when someone brings up something sensitive like race.
Unfortunately, we cannot hear the audio, Dr. Reed. I think you might have to unmute in order for us to hear. You're still muted, Dr. Reed. That's might be what we get.
Yep. So let me see. I want to see if I can, let's see, optimize, share the sound. Let's try her again. And okay, so you say just leave the sound open.
You're mute. Yes, because I think you mute. You might. We're not going to hear anything from your computer.
Okay, so let's try this again.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes. There we go. That's it. Thank you.
Implicit bias is the embedding of negative stereotypes and associations in our brains around groups. When we talk about identity difference, what we're talking about is a set of hierarchies when it comes to race or gender or sexuality. We take in so many culture cues over our lifespan that help us create these hierarchies of human value. What implicit bias is the embedding of those stereotypes in relationship to a hierarchy that operate in very quick automatic periods in our brain. Racial anxiety is the feeling that we have in the middle of an interracial interaction when race drops into the conversation. So if you were white and all of a sudden the conversation turns towards race, you may worry that whatever you say next will make you be perceived as a racist. If you are of color and race drops in the conversation, you are worried that whatever comes next may invalidate your life experience and that you won't be seen fairly or truthfully. When that happens, your executive brains, both executive brains, are literally shutting down. They're going into fight or flight mode, and you cannot have a meaningful conversation or an interaction when both brains are butting up against each other. So our answer to that typically is avoidance, right? We run away from the conversation. The other alternative is to build up the intensity of that fight situation and go at it. We believe that understanding what underlies racial anxiety, understanding that race is not just a social construct, but also a physiological and an emotional construct, is something that is critical to helping us move forward and having more meaningful conversations around race.
Okay. So what I want to do now is I am dropping something in the chat. This is a slide that I'm going to display next. And I want you to just quietly to yourself reflect on the prompts. So have you ever been in or observed a conversation about race, gender identity, religious differences, class, language, immigration status, or any other sensitive issue that was uncomfortable? And in that exchange, was that a flight or fight mode? What happened there? And then ultimately, were those participants able to kind of push through and to get a better understanding? And what does that look like? In a moment, what I'm going to do as you're kind of jotting down your thoughts, I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. And I just want you to take probably about 5 minutes to maybe one or two of you will be able to share that experience. So I want you to speak if you feel led, but just to share that experience. So does everybody have you click on that link, because then you'll have the questions when you get to the breakout room. Okay, and so at this time, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and I will set my timer for about 5 minutes, and then I'll pull you back in. All right, we ready? And go. You should have the opportunity, you should be able to join the breakout room. Okay, so we have a few folks still out here. Join the breakout room. You know how to get in there, Patty?
Yep.
Okay, all right. And all right.
Uh-oh. Could you send me into a room again? I'm just with you right now.
Yes, ma'am. So let's get you into a room.
Oh, okay. I see it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, I see Charlene is in a room by herself. Oh no. Okay.
I think I had to leave the room for it to work. You are on mute.
What I've learned is I definitely need a tech to support me.
Listen, I can log in and I can be on a meeting.
Well, you did pretty good. Let's see. I'm just going to put you in room 8. Let's just see.
No problem.
Did you get that
yes,
invitation?
I'll join now.
Okay,
yes.
Karen and Tom, how are you? Welcome. Karen and Tom, we are in some breakout rooms at this time. And so just checking in to see, are you interested in participating, or maybe you can catch us when they come back. They'll be back probably in about 2 minutes.
This is Karen. I was in a breakout room and somehow I knocked myself out trying to figure out how to.
Do you remember what room you were in?
The first one, I think.
Okay,
let's and someone else.
Okay, so I put you in one.
Okay.
All right. Hi, Tom. Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
I can. How are you?
Okay, hi. We're in Chicago helping my sister, but I thought I would kind of participate in the sense of being there to hear. And if a breakout room is going to be ending soon, that's fine. I'll just wait till everybody comes back.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Yo, thank you.
Hello, welcome back, Helen. You came back pretty quick. Don't know if that's good or bad. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. As you join, want to just, as soon as people join, I just want you to reflect on the conversation, and maybe we could have one or two people share out their situation and just see where we are with everything. Okay. We have 9 people on. That means some people they were tied into the conversation. So
I'd love to hear the end of Mary Gleason's story.
So as you come back, what I probably would like us to do, and again, I really want to get into this framework, but maybe 1 or 2 people might want to share out very briefly what their situation was and how that ended up for your group or the 2 participants. Anybody? Can I get, is there one? Would there be one?
Dr. Latish Reed. Our discussion was about gender identity, whether the female was a female, whether she looked enough like a female, and unfortunately, there was no fight. There was flight on my end and the majority of us because we couldn't convince the person who kept questioning it. What does it matter? That's what we were trying to explain to him. What does it matter if she is a woman or not a woman? So no, I guess we didn't push through to a productive resolve or understanding. I don't know what else to say either.
Thank you for sharing. And there's nothing wrong with that, because as the presenter in that little clip said, this is real. This is what happens. We either engage in a fight or either we're like, okay, we're good, thank you. One more person, maybe. One more person. One more person.
I'll go, Dr. Reed.
Okay.
So the prompt is, as in, if you see or sort of, someone being attacked as far as verbally, like what do you typically do? And, all of us have different sort of, based on experiences, based on a lot of things. Some people sort of sit back and just, they know something is wrong, but sometimes some people just don't have the tools on how to deal with the situation. And for me, I like to, I use it as a learning opportunity, and a way to really stop an engagement from, turning bad to worse, but to also be able to look out and be able to support the person that's also being attacked verbally. And so that's one, I'm just a proponent of speaking up and being an individual that, again, have, some tools in my tool belt to know how to address the situation head on. But I've learned to always speak up, because when I feel, and we feel it in our gut, we know, oh my gosh, it's just that sick kind of feeling like, this isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's typically what I go by, and I use that to lead me and my faith, to have the strength and the courage to be able to speak up and support someone else and use it as a learning moment.
This is awesome, and we are going to move that forward. So I want you to everybody to remember what she was talking about, that gut kind of feeling. So put a bookmark there. So what now? What we know that literally there are some physical reactions to being in some of these uncomfortable positions. And as we know, diversity, equity, and inclusion, like these are all the buzzwords of today, and everybody has a chief and a director, and we have a this initiative and a that initiative. It's all good in theory, but what we know from the video and from the conversations that we just had, this causes anxiety. And sometimes that anxiety causes you not to act. Even though you may have the pit in your stomach, you are constantly making different just choices and decisions on whether you should do something. People can experience real consequences for acting. When we think about it in life, people have lost their lives for acting. And so we get to be in the comfort of the 2022 year, and we can make a choice of whether or not to act. And that is a very real thing. Pushing for real change is going to be uncomfortable. And so I don't know how many of you know Mary J. Blige. She is a living legend to me, but she had a song that says, all I really want is to be happy, right? I want to go to work. I want to be able to take care of my brilliant 17-year-old, beautiful Black young man. I want to be able to live comfortably. But without any action, there is no change. And with that, I want to share a little bit about something that I use as a reflection tool. So this is my equity empowerment continuum. So basically, the EEC is a framework to think about, to what degree are you empowered? The framework is subjective, and as we start talking, you will see there's not a right or wrong answer. I submit there probably are some wrong answers, but again, to my dear friend Pat's suggestion, there are some really unique and creative exchanges of ideas, and so you'll be able to see that. And your place on the continuum will vary, and that is based on your context. It is based on your identity. I've come to learn this as a Black woman in an organization trying to lead change. And it is about your capacity as a leader and the timing. So these are just some of the things that I've taken into account as I've created this system or this reflective tool. So this is it in its entirety. So you have the actions that range from Black all the way to white. And I want to be very clear, it was intentional that the Black actions are the strongest actions. They are the ones that result in justice. So and then, you know, Black has such a bad connotation, but think about it, ladies and one gentleman on the line, when you are dressed up, you go and you get a little, what color dress? Black dress. So I just want you to think about this in terms of Black being a part of empowerment. So first of all, we have Black actions, and that is these are very strong things. We're talking about righting the wrongs. We are talking about when the slaves were free. They were slaves, and then something humongous happened, and then they were free. Now, we know that that was a lot. Everything hasn't turned out as expected, but there was a very decisive moment that happened in the course of this country that changed the trajectory of the country. This happened when women got the right to vote. Like all that time, we were just doing what we were doing and we couldn't vote. And then all of a sudden they said, you can vote. And that changed everything. We have the civil rights era. We have things like the Americans with Disability Act. We have same-sex marriage. These are Black actions. Now, they don't really happen every day. And I submit to you that normal people do make Black actions. Brittany's on the line. When I went to one of my visits to Washington, D.C., it was one of my favorite times. Her and her family took me to see Frederick Douglass's mansion in Anacostia. Is it Anacostia? I don't know. I'm probably saying it wrong. But beautiful mansion on a hill, and they have it all staged. You know, they've got dishes and whatever, but I went to his bedroom, and there's this little bed. And I'm like, my goodness, like Frederick Douglass was just like sleeping like I do. His slippers were out there. They talked about his workout regimen. And I work out too. I'm a real person and I can make change, but now I might not be making huge, big monumental changes. So just think about that. You might be called to do that kind of change. But a lot of us are in positions where we can push that envelope as far as it can go to make some change. And when I think about the equity policy, I think that because we didn't have an equity policy at all. Now we do have this legalese document that says some things about what we're supposed to be doing for children. And it actually gives those in front of me the opportunity to say, but we have this policy. So thinking about that, then I submit to you today that a lot of what we're seeing is light gray action around diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is performative, right? After the spring of 2020, everyone said, no, it's 2000, it was 20 or 21. Black lives now matter everywhere. It matters at the dentist's office. It matters at the grocery store, right? It can be a performative thing. We're going to have a committee to look at the inequities, and they're going to produce a report. And then someone leaves. Oh, it'll be 6 months before that report comes to be for your examination. Then we're just doing something in the name, and it is more of the same, which produces no change. Quote Linda Reed, my mom. Finally, we have white actions. These are inactions or actively doing something to deepen the inequities. Now I'm going to share, because I think on this line, I think this group of folks could hear what I'm saying. I did this presentation earlier or this past weekend, and I think this group would understand what I'm saying. So when we knew that COVID disproportionately impacted communities of color. We literally had people downplaying the impact. So people that needed support and protection the most didn't get it because there were certain messages coming out in the media. So those deepen the inequities. So as a overall, this is the equity empowerment continuum. So dark actions, or excuse me, black actions, dark gray, light gray, white actions. You're not always going to be where you are today. It may depend on who you are. It may depend on the timing. So how many people remember the show, What Would You Do with John Quinones? Oh my goodness.
I remember.
I love that show because every week, John and his team would stage a situation and they would put cameras everywhere and they would just film everyday people responding to certain situations. So we're going to play a little bit of What Would You Do? So on the screen, I have a scenario. And the scenario is I also have some more like deeper examples, but this is a very real person example. So this is a personal one, the aerobics instructor's comments at the gym. So you are an excited member of a local gym. You take regular aerobics class and you love all of the instructors, but one of them uses offensive terms like sit in an Indian style pose or do a karate kick on your left. What would you do? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to drop something in the chat. This is a document where you can, what I want you to do is copy it. And when you click on it, it is going to automatically ask you to make a copy of it. Okay, so let's put that in the chat. Let's see, where am my chat? Where's my chat? Okay, all right. So please, it's in the chat now. I want you to click on that document. Everyone is going to say, open it up, make a copy. So you got to make a copy of it. Okay. So here, this is what that document looks like. Are you all seeing something that says black, white, and shades of gray at the top on my screen? Are you all seeing that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So what we have here is, this is just kind of a summary of what we discussed. Here is the scenario that I just shared. I have created 8 different responses. Okay, there are 8 different responses. If you have that document open, you should be able to think about the response and you can type the letter that you believe corresponds to the particular action. So for example, let's just say, I think mentioning this to a friend in class would be a light gray action, and I would put it there. So I want you to take a little bit of time, and you're going to break those out on your own. And then I'm going to put you back into your breakout rooms so that you can discuss with the folks you just talked to. Okay. And Pat has reminded us about the soul food meal for the midterm elections. I am so sad I will not be able to join. I will be getting my young man back from behind the wheel. He thinks he's going to be driving soon. It's devastating to me, but whatever. So anyway, so take a little bit more time, put these in, and in about 30 seconds, I'm going to open the rooms back, and I'm going to try to give you 10 minutes to discuss. And I want you to remember our norms. okay? Because people will have different ideas about this. I do realize this group probably has some very similar ideologies about what to do, maybe. But we do have some different identities here. So, all right. So even if you're not done, I'm going to break out the rooms and you're going to have the conversation, and I will bring you back in about 10 minutes for the wrap up. Okay. Rooms are opening at this time. Okay. So rooms are opening at this time. Please join your groups again and have that conversation with your colleagues. Let me know if you need another invitation to join a particular room. Helen, do you have a question? Looks like you were talking. Okay, you're on mute. Okay, so let's see. Let's see, Tom, Elizabeth, Jenny, do you guys want to join a room? Let's see. Need invite 3. Let's see, that is Elizabeth, you're going to 3, room 3. So I just sent that to you. Jenny, are you interested? Sorry, not now. Okay, sounds good. We've got a person. Let me jump into, let's see. Hi, Tom. How's it going? Are you just still in listen mode?
Well, my smartphone, it may be smarter than I am, but I'm here in Chicago and it wanted me to use passwords to get into Google Docs. So I haven't been able to get at the document. And it's just, I thought I would listen from afar and maybe speak or not. I appreciate what you're doing, and it's nothing about you or the presentation. It's just a busy time, and I thought I would dip into it.
Well, I totally understood. No worries, no worries. Just what I was just checking back to make sure that you were good. All right.
You know, I'd like to here, just a second. Now you can see me.
Okay. Okay.
So, you know, I'm the former executive director of the Interfaith Conference. I love these things. It's just sometimes you try to do too much in life.
I know. But see, so virtual like lets us do more.
Yeah, it does.
Lets us be in places that we want to be in. So like when you think
Right.
about it, well, you know, I'm on my lunch break. So right. So I said
that looks
but
like my vacation.
right.
It used to be.
I definitely wouldn't be able to fly across town and, you know, jump back in with
Sure.
the finding parking and all the good things, right? So
Yep. No, that's great. I just have an older sister who we helped move, and she owns a co-op apartment in Chicago, and it's quite cluttered. She was hoarding things, and so we've been spending a lot of time making trips down here to try to clean it out and get it ready to be sold and move on to the next phases of life. So I was going through old files while I was listening to you. You didn't have my total attention, but you had, 70% at least, which I'm usually happy if I think 70% of the people are listening to me.
yeah. So
I don't know.
I love that. So Brittany is my sister. That's my sister. And I think that she should listen to you because then she should come and help me declutter so that I can move. I think that this is a great modeling situation and maybe she'll come and help clean out because I have lots of things that need to go for my next phase of life too.
No, that's right. No, we tell our daughter she's an only child, but if the plane ever goes down, it's a dual tragedy. You not only lose us, you inherit the basement and the office and the other places that are full of things. So we are, but I will say helping my sister has kind of, we've been to the valley and seen the mountaintop above and we're inspired. We're going to have to deal with our own stuff too. So we're getting there, but it is, well, this is, it's not relevant to the general conversation you're engaging in, but it's almost like Harry Potter portal links to the past. Each of the objects, even if it's just a shopping list that my mother wrote out decades ago, each of these things spark a memory that she would not otherwise have. And that's part of not wanting to give up anything because her memory has gotten a lot worse. And so it's trying to be sympathetic to that, but letting her say, you can't save every single thing. Every little trinket, every little scrap of paper, you've got to live in the present. So we've it's been interesting.
Well, I know for me, I have bunches of things. I have papers that I've written because I just think they're going to be important one day. I don't know why, but something is telling me that people are going to want to read these old papers and say, this is what she thought when she was a freshman at Marquette University. I don't know.
Oh, no, that's, I was 10 years at the Interfaith Conference as executive director, but I was 31 years at the Milwaukee Journal and Journal Sentinel before that. And then a couple of years in Chicago at City News Bureau of Chicago. But my wife cut out almost every story I ever did, which is all of these files tucked away. And I've got other things that I've written. And then I realized my daughter's generation, if you send an email of more than a paragraph, one of my young staff members said, "Oh yeah, I read your book." It was like two or three paragraphs. And
what did you think about it?
What am I saving this stuff for? This is a whole, no, we're wow, it's a different, everybody's different.
Yeah, so I think people are coming back.
Yeah.
We have just a few minutes. We, like I said, I did not totally account for the opening of any meeting. Like there's always things that we need to talk about, right?
Sure.
But I did want to give the group maybe a little bit of time to debrief a bit.
Sure. Don't let me interrupt or delay you. I hope your great work, good wishes, and blessings from us.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming back. We have about 5 minutes left. And, last time we had this conversation, we'd spent a lot of time debriefing, but hopefully I just want you all to reflect upon these debrief questions. So did your group members place the actions in similar categories? Was it easy or difficult to decide? And that should be gradation, not graduation. That should be gradation. The actions were for you. And what factors do you think should be considered when taking any actions? Like the ones that we are asking you to address in the aerobics class or in other situations. So before we end, can I maybe have, if we can get maybe 2 people to give us, put a little button on the conversation that they had to share out?
Our group came to consensus around F, addressing the teacher directly, but some of us would probably tell a friend first, and some of us would be inclined to start a petition. Others were less inclined to do that, but addressing the teacher was where we landed. Oh, and then talking to the supervisor if that didn't get anywhere.
Okay.
But I wanted to start a petition too.
Okay. You want to start a petition. I love it.
But I would need some support. I probably would not actually do it if I was just alone on that. I would have to have my friend who I said something to first go with me. That's the stage I'm at.
Yeah. So the other piece of this too is thinking about your capacity to impact change. And so if you are a lone voice, and I'm going to be very honest, this is actually kind of a real situation. And I mentioned my sisters on this line. They know that my aerobics class is part of my existence. I have some health issues, and this is the only exercise that I can get. Now, in my mind, I'm like, do I actually say something? It gets uncomfortable. Then I feel uncomfortable. Then I don't want to come to the gym anymore. So me, equity specialist, doing policies, procedures, what am I going to do? Right? So that's something to think about. Kathy, could you go ahead? Kathy,
Sure.
And then we'll have Charlene.
Sure, I'll make it quick. So one of the things that came up in my group, and I was asked to speak about it, is if there's a kind of a corrective experience that you can offer. So I offered that in early childhood education now. We tell kids to sit with pretzel legs. And so just having another way of saying it, and that it seems to be a win-win then, and I would say that to the instructor, and then I would also say it to the administration too, so that it could get passed around. And then the other thing that came up is that we were a little unclear about why karate kick was offensive, quite honestly.
Yeah, we were.
I love it.
Thank you.
Two things I want to say, Kathy, and just I want you to consider this. Remember, we said being open to other perspectives. So as we are both educators, and I will tell you that there are a plethora of instructors, and one I felt really comfortable sharing, hey, what about crisscross applesauce? Because this person was actually a former educator. I had worked in the schools. But again, as a Black woman, and I'm not sure of what this other person is thinking, and I just know that I'm trying to get my exercise, I'm just not sure what I would do. And I will tell you what I did do. I put something in the suggestion box and that's it. And I didn't sign my name. That's what I did. Charlene?
Hi, and it's Charlene.
Charlene, I'm so
No,
sorry.
you're good. You're
Okay.
good, Dr. Reed. You are so
Uh-huh.
good. I just wanted to really, really briefly as well. We were thinking, I had a really great conversation with Lisa, and we said the same thing about the karate kick, right? We're like, wait a second, let's dig into that a little bit. But one of the things that I shared in our conversation is that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. If Lisa don't mind sharing this, Lisa's just like, she's in her 70s and she grew up with a lot of offensive language. And right now we're also at the stage of relearning. So I typically give people the benefit of the doubt and use moments and opportunities for learning. So, again, what your first time at the gym, or you're with a friend, taking the opportunity afterwards to have a conversation, because again, sometimes give people the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes you don't know. And that goes the same thing for me. I've learned so much around language that I might say something based on what I've heard somebody else say, and I'm repeating it. And then somebody is just like, no, Charlene, that's offensive. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, thank you. And I use that as a moment and an opportunity to learn. So, again, some people know what they're doing, and that's different. Then you got to go. But others, it's in the sense, I always put in the category of, let's use this moment for teaching and learning and growing, and see what happens from there. If things change, fantastic. If things don't change, that's when you sort of need to, escalate the situation. But I always err on the side of giving people the benefit of the doubt and using opportunities to teach.
Thank you, Charlene. I appreciate that. And then one last person, Jenny. Jenny's hand is up. Jenny, are you able to speak, or? I don't know. Okay. All right. So what now what? Now, as you can see, that was extremely, it seemed like a simple conversation, nothing too complex, but you can see that there was a variety of ways that people would respond to it. And again, I encourage you to really reflect on your identities, your gender identity, your racial identity, your just your ability. All of those things come into play as to how you might do it. So what I would encourage you to know that sometimes that there are things that are outside of your control and your influence. Now, I'm not saying that we don't learn more and do more to gain more influence and control, but again, sometimes when we're at work, there are some things that may be outside. However, as an equity leader, you have to think about, what is it that I can control? What do I have control over? I often have people tell me, oh, well, equity, and no, you know what's happening in your area, in your expertise. You know what is happening, and what you must do is figure out what are those things that need to be changed, and how can you be an equity leader in that and make the change. Now, there are also folks that you can influence, and I may not be able to make the change, but they can. And I will tell you that over the course of my time in doing this work, and with the mouth that God gave me and the upbringing that I have, I have said and done some things that definitely rub folks the wrong way, but I can have a colleague who can say and do and do some of the same things, and it's received differently. And I get it. I have a mentor, she says, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm still hot. So, but what I've learned is that it is important to be able to use those networks to make the change. And so with that, I'm going to close. People are still putting different announcements in the chat, but if you have a couple of minutes and you can use your QR phone on your QR code on your phone and take a picture of my brief survey, I would appreciate any feedback that you could share with me this afternoon. I can also put that in the chat for you so that you can just click on that and just give me some feedback. Let me know what you're thinking about this tool that I created. With that, thank you so very much for your time and logging on this afternoon. And I'll turn it back over to whomever I'm supposed to turn it back over to.
Well, that would be me. And so friends, it's really great. We had a nice turnout today. Save the monthly link. We always meet on the third Tuesday. And I am open to suggestions of other voices that you would like to hear, inspirational leaders. Just let me know. And Dr. Reed, you are something else. You're fun in the pool and you're fun on Zoom. So we thank you so much. Very thoughtful presentation and very challenging. So dear ones, let us get all the people possible who want to vote to the polls. And souls to the polls is another way. Charlene added that, how to get the sign that says I will vote. That is nonpartisan. And it would give you an opportunity to invite people to become active in this important election. So I send you all with love and appreciation. Stay strong, my sisters. And Tom. I see a lot of clapping of hands.
Can I make a little plug though? I put it
Oh
in the
yes,
chat.
Lorna, we have time. Go ahead.
I put it in the chat, but I came up just a few minutes late when you were starting. I know sometimes you make announcements then. Tonight at UWM in Mitchell Hall, there is a public issues forum put on by the League called Dangerous Women and Change Makers. I don't remember the exact thing, but two League members have made a documentary on the history of women in the past who fought for the vote and women who are now working in legislation in Wyoming, and also some connection with women who are in education. And they're going to show their documentary. Then they have three young panelists. And I wish I had my information in front of me, but one is a young Black woman who is the head of Professional Dimensions, a young professionals women's group in Milwaukee.
That's Fester, Lauren
Lauren
Feaster. Yes,
Lauren Feaster.
She is a member of Sigma Gamma Rho too.
Okay, great. And then
sorority you got.
And I'm sorry, because I didn't expect to do this. Then the one woman who is the chair of the Milwaukee County Supervisors, Nicola, I believe. Sorry, blocking on that name again as well. And a young woman, Native American, who was the first Native American council woman in Madison, who now runs a group that tries to get women to run for office. So those are our panelists. And we hope to engage young women there. That's why we're at UWM, to get them interested in being dangerous themselves. Because working for justice, Dr. Latish Reed, is making you a dangerous woman, okay? So please come if you can.
Thank you, Lorna.
6 to 8 o'clock p.m.
So many good things going on. So much work to do. Okay, so let's call our young friends and say your vote really matters, and you can tell your personal story why legislation has made a difference in your life. Ending childhood poverty is another huge one. Okay, dear ones, peace.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reed.
Thank you, Dr. Reed.
Thank you.